Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Monday Night Live chat. We're back. We're in our office, and we've got Jeremy Brech.
I'm back.
And we're in our office, and we have Jeremy Brech.
And I'm here too.
Jeremy, have you recovered?
I'm still trying to figure that out. It was, I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's the week of Mobile Beat, but really it's like the 2 months of Mobile Beat for me. So it gets a little overwhelming, but it was great to catch up with people. It was great to be with the family this weekend, and now it's back to business. So we're at it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that a lot of people, they look and see that you're busy at Mobile Beat, and they're like, oh yeah, he was really busy at the show. But it's really that 2 to 3, in your case, with the programming and the lighting and planning and different things. I mean, that's weeks, plural, before.
Yeah, really, every Tuesday we would have about an hour to a 2-hour conference call with Jason Jani, Jake Feldman, myself. Once in a while we'd have the host on, but I would say probably the last 3 months we start having those conversations because we have to start booking talent and getting those surprise moments that we created. We had to create those months in advance, try to keep them quiet for however many months, and then make it all happen the week of. So yeah, it's a lot of play that or a lot of work that goes into all the play that happens at the actual event.
So let's talk about some of those little surprise things. And we got people jumping in the chat room. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And Darius, hey man, it's good to see you. Sorry.
That's okay.
Surprise things. I mean, there were. Okay, maybe we'll go from this angle because there were things that I knew that were going to kind of happen. We talked in general, but let's start out with that. The intro, I think it was, that you had some performers. Was that a Frank Sinatra impersonator I saw in there?
Well, it was supposed to be. No, actually,
that's a vote of confidence there.
No, Frank did great. He was, he did exactly what we asked him to. And that was kind of the whole purpose of that B stage. We wanted to do a couple different things additional with the B stage, but that was one of the things that we figured, we're going to have that stage. We have him, up and prominent in front of the entire crowd originally. And again, this all comes down to, this is something I learned from Bill Herman, when it comes to staging and blocking, what are the things that could go wrong? What are the things that might be difficult that could happen? And, originally we were going to have him actually sitting in chairs, and then all of a sudden he was just going to pop up right there next to these random people. A spotlight was going to hit him, and he was just going to start singing. So it was kind of a flash type thing where when we created the video, Jason and his crew over at SCE created the video. It had the actions of Frank Sinatra rolling the dice and throwing them. Well, we had to have that video to that performer about 2 weeks in advance. So he kind of saw the body language, what Frank Sinatra he was supposed to be, and kind of portray that. So he did a great job of really coming out there. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on.
Yep. This is what happens when you're doing live video, ladies and gentlemen. Things happen in the offices. Children are back and forth. So
live video, children coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
So Frank Sinatra kind of created that part of Frank Sinatra. We wanted to use Luck Be a Lady, so that worked out great. And then we had Elvis. And Elvis was kind of an interesting character. It wasn't the Elvis we were kind of going for. We had the old classic Elvis, but yet we had the Las Vegas Elvis, which was, kind of what we wanted to pull. They just didn't look alike at all.
No.
So that was, a little contrast, but it was still fun. His moves were maybe a little more of the old Elvis.
His physique was certainly more the new, or the older Elvis, not the younger one.
But no, it was a lot of fun to kind of put all that together. And again, originally we wanted to use Viva Las Vegas. We just couldn't find very good video content or anything to really incorporate with that Viva Las Vegas that was out and available for us. So, we run into some difficulties, but we definitely worked through them, and it all came together great.
Very cool. Back to the Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Did you intend that when he was on his stage and he's doing it, that from our perspective, watching the front of the room, you had the screens and then you had one of the spotlights on him so big and bright, but it was actually casting his shadow just to the side of the screen. And it was really kind of a cool look to be watching the screen and then to see the shadow going.
Yeah. So, yep. Yeah. So the silhouette, we were kind of hoping we were going to get some type of silhouette. The only problem we had was, then we also had kind of some silhouette of the crowd as well. But that comes down, as a lighting guy, that comes down to beam angles and things like that. So I don't know how many people actually noticed that, just because I think most of the people had to turn around to see him. We wanted to have dual spotlights so that way we can hit him from the other direction as well, illuminate him, and then also cast that silhouette. But it turned out pretty cool the way it all happened.
Yeah, that was a cool thing. I was looking at that, and there wasn't a second one, so I was like, okay, did they plan this, or was this just kind of it just happened?
We were lucky we had one follow spot, so that was
Yeah, no, that worked. That was pretty cool. Now the idea for bringing up the hosts and such, you had some Vegas showgirls come up and lead those up there. Now, who came up with these ideas to put this kind of intro together like that?
I think it was kind of a collaboration. I mean, again, you have the minds of Jason, Jani, myself. Jake was basically the one who said, no, you can't do that, or yes, we can pull that off. He was kind of the reality voice. We actually wanted to have a Michael Jackson impersonator as well. The only thing we struggled with was, how does he fit into Las Vegas? You had Frank Sinatra, who kind of started Las Vegas, or kind of was there during the beginning of it. And then when Elvis Presley, and again, I mean, I did hours and hours of homework on how we can incorporate all these. I watched videos on what significance Elvis had in Las Vegas. And actually, Vegas rebuilt Elvis's career. I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but Elvis Presley actually just went out and he started doing a lot more with the video. He started doing more movies and things. And to rebuild his singing career, they decided to bring him back into Las Vegas. So that kind of reconstructed his singing career. So then we wanted to have this Michael Jackson impersonator. The impersonator, again, we wanted to incorporate that. We just didn't know how it would really fit in with Las Vegas. So we kind of went with the direction of, the 30s and the 40s to the 60s and 70s, and then into the 90s where mobile beat kind of bloomed. So I don't know if a lot of people really understood the storyline of what that introduction was all about, but he opened up with, you don't really know where you've gone until you realize where you've been.
Right.
And so it kind of showed the building of Las Vegas, and then also how Mobile Beat was built as well, and it showed some of those clips as Mobile Beat progressed as well. So yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was definitely a walk through time there for us, especially those of us who've been to most of the shows. And it's like, oh my gosh, for one thing, I looked a lot younger in the video clip up there that you guys put up on the screen. It's like, oh, I had more hair back then.
Yeah. That was a nice clip. That was a nice clip of you.
Yeah.
One of the things also in the introduction, we wanted to incorporate, I don't know if a lot of people noticed this either, but when the countdown was happening, Jason Jani had just actually gone to Garth Brooks a couple weeks before, and the opening for Garth Brooks is actually the sequence where like all the lighting is starting up and there's malfunctioning going on. So I don't know if people noticed that or not, but when the screen was flickering and there was these weird sounds, the lighting was actually incorporated with that. So it seemed like there was some type of malfunction, or these lights weren't working, or, this moving head was freaking out. So again, it just kind of created a fun buildup. And then once people got to that 10, 9, 8, I mean, you heard everyone counting down. And we were just kind of hoping that would build that anticipation, which it did. And I think it was really exciting to kind of kick things off and really start the introduction.
Oh, yeah.
We actually just posted one of our, the introduction or the opening. We just posted that using the 360. And the camera that we use is actually the 360 Fly. It's a great little camera. There's a lot of great 360 cameras out there. Some of them have different qualities. This one is a very high capacity It's also an underwater, so if you're ever doing underwater gigs, you're good to go. But you know, there's a good capacity of memory in there, and you know, those are the ones that we use. Um, but yeah, so you can actually go on the DJ Jer Shop Time video channel, and you can see the 360 of the opening if you missed it.
Very cool. Yeah, that's something. Obviously, you saw that somebody's asking about that. And there was I think I saw 2 or 3 different 360 cameras there, and it's just interesting seeing somebody walking around looking like they're holding an umbrella. What are you doing? I'm videotaping.
Yeah, and, you know, that was I actually had said it right in front of Frank Sinatra. So when you're actually watching the intro, and all of a sudden you see everyone turn around in the 360, what you'll need to do is, if you're using your phone, you can just use your phone and spin around like that. But otherwise, you can just drag with your mouse if you're looking at it in YouTube. And so you'll see Frank Sinatra when he's singing. He's like right there if you turn around on the 360 cam that we did. So it's pretty cool.
Very nice. Nice. I'll have to go check that out. I haven't had a chance to check that out. I think ever since I've gotten back, I've been answering emails or website or something. So let's continue onto the show. There was you know things you were doing between the seminars and such. Let's kind of, before we really dig into that too much, let's talk about what lighting you used at the show.
Yeah. So as you probably know, Chauvet DJ sponsors the main stage, the big stage. So all of the fixtures that we use were actually Chauvet DJ fixtures. And I think there's kind of this misconception of my involvement with them. I'm not an actual employee for Chauvet DJ. A lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, so I bought this light that you guys made." I'm like, I don't actually make the lights. I don't work there. But I actually ran into, and I have to thank John for this. A couple years ago, Chauvet had actually approached me because they had seen one of my videos that I put out there, and I think John had posted this, and John had got me the connection to meet with Bernice Chauvet, who is basically the Chauvet of Chauvet. And so we just sat and, you know, had a drink and, you know, got to know each other. And she wanted me to, you know, kind of help build the brand and show people the possibilities of their fixtures. So that's why, you know, they asked me to last year, Bill and Jason, who worked on the entertainment experience for the show last year, they wanted to create this ultimate experience. And so they reached out to me. I reached out to Chauvet. Chauvet said, yes, we're on board. This sounds awesome. So again, all the fixtures that we used last year, all the fixtures we used this year were all Chauvet. So everything from LED ellipsoidals. They have a brand new Zoom ellipsoidal that we use to kind of create that warm color on the stage. We also use the Wash Effects, which is an RGB fixture, but when you mix it correctly, you can actually create a nice warm tone. So all of the staging was all done with LED fixtures. We also had a lot of the 355 intimidators. Mm-hmm. We had those on the back totems, and then also we had those in the back of the room and also on the front flying. And those are basically just an upgrade from their original 350. They just put a brighter LED in there. So all those people that are thinking, you know, oh gosh, not to reprogram everything, it's the same exact fixture, just brighter. And the only difference between a 355 and a 355Z is the zooming feature. So, you know, if you're looking for a nice light, you don't want to spend the extra for the zooming, the 355 is a great option. The other one, the bad boy that we used, we had 4 of the 455Zs up top, and those just pack a punch. We did a lot of fun things with that, go-go layering. We did some morphing, a lot of cool things with that one. Some of the other main fixtures, we talked about the Wash Effects already creating for the stage, but it's such a versatile light that we had some in the back shooting into the crowd. We also had some on the front bar. And if you were there, you might have noticed that we actually did some color waves. It wasn't just like red, blue, green, but we actually put some color texture in there. And also with the front facade, we used the Color Band Pix M's, which are the moving linear effects. Well, what we did is we actually pixel mapped the facade using those Color Band Pix M's along with the Wash Effects across the top. So when you saw like this blue go up into the go across the facade, it would actually raise up into the top, so you would see it as a full motion. We also used the Let's see. We also used oh my gosh, the trios.
I was waiting for this one. That's my two favorite you haven't gotten to yet.
Yes, the trios were probably the most asked about fixture, and they should be. They are one of the most diverse lights because it doesn't just give you a beam, but it gives you a spot, it gives you a wash, and it also gives you this. So really, it should be, instead of a trio, it should be a quattro or something, and it gives you this moonflower effect. When you're using haze, even when you're not using haze, it does some really cool things. You can do some easy slow chase patterns. You can do some really fast movements. So again, if you want to create a fun dance on the atmosphere, or a fun atmosphere on the dance floor, you can put it into a fast mode. And the thing was, yes, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I'm really good with lighting. But the fixtures make it easy. All I had to do was tap in and understand the built-in programs that were in those fixtures, and allowed me to do some really cool things. So they have pixel chasing, they have all these built-in effects. All you have to do is understand the properties of those fixtures, and you can really do some great things. So the trio was probably the biggest fixture that everyone was asking about. The slim beams, we had slim beams on the side. Again, also a very popular fixture. That was the 3 beams. And if you were at my presentation, we actually used LMFAO's Party Rock Anthem, and you could actually see the beams move. And again, just using the built-in fixtures, adjusting the speed to exactly how I needed it, I could create it so it went with the exact rhythm. The freedoms, we use the freedoms in some chasing and things like that, just as a regular uplight to fill in some of those gaps.
Yep.
The slim beams. And probably the other most popular fixture, I think this is the one that you're waiting for.
Yes, it is.
One of the other most popular fixtures was by far the freedom sticks. Is that what you were thinking?
That's what I was waiting for. Let's get to those. Talk about those a minute.
So the freedom sticks, a lot of people at first were like, well, okay, let me back up. When I first heard about these things, I asked Alan over at Chauvet, I said, so what are these things? He's like, imagine a lightsaber. And I'm like, okay, how would I use this? And so I'm like, if I have to, he's like, well, you're going to use about 50 of them in the production for Mobile Beat. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with a bunch of Jedis? So he sends them to me. He sends me a pack so that way I can, again, understand the programs that are built in, and just kind of get used to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I took them out, plugged them in, and you have to, using a flare con, you actually send wireless signals. So they're battery powered. We could put them anywhere. And then using the wireless signal, I could make them dance, do whatever I wanted them to do. And so when we had them as aisle runners, they actually illuminated the aisle, created some interest in the aisles. It also, we used it in the sequencing for the opening. We used it in the sequence for some of my presentation as well. But the thing that is probably the most valuable out of these lights is by far putting them inside of your totems. We had them in the totems up top. We had them in the totems in the back. And, you can put an uplight in there, but when you put an uplight inside of your totem, it's just going to be blue, or it's just going to be amber. It's going to be one color. With the Freedom Sticks, you can actually create your totem as like an EQ inside of the, the spandex, or even exposed trussing.
Sure.
There's a shop time video on that, by the way. But the cool thing is, again, all those built-in patterns, when you have chases, you can see all this going through that spandex, illuminating all that spandex. It is one of the coolest things that they have ever come out with when it comes to lighting up your totems. So again, we use them as aisle runners. We use them inside the totems. Just created a really cool atmosphere. So that was a lot of fun to play with this year. We had about, I think we had about 36 of those throughout the room and used in production.
Yeah, that was definitely a different effect. It certainly gave that 3-dimensional feel to the room without the moving head. Moving head fixtures, of course, will do it in fog, but really it just made it. They added a lot of depth to the whole visual part of the show.
Yep.
Very neat.
So, John, I see a question that came up. Can you do a video on how to set up the 455Zs in Show Express? So, I guess we can kind of touch base a little bit on that. And feel free, keep sending these messages because it helps us understand exactly what your viewers are looking for. But there are a couple of questions that I would have regarding that. What is it that you want your 455 to do? Are you putting it on a totem? Are you going to be using it for, what aspects of the 455 do you want to understand? The zooming feature, the morphing feature, how to use it to its fullest potential. Start putting those questions out there so that way, again, John can give me that information. And yes, I'd be happy to put videos out there for you guys.
Yeah, that's if you guys have any question on lighting, Jeremy's the guy that will be able to give you answers for a lot of it. And if he doesn't know, he's going to research and he's going to give you the right answers when it comes time to put those videos together. So definitely put your questions either in the chat if there's something we can do tonight and get you that information at a later date, or put it down in the comment section down below after the video is all done and such from tonight. That's the best place to put it.
Yeah.
Or they can email you at jeremybrech@discjockeynews.com.
They can do that. Yes.
And then they'll get right to you. They can get right to you. So the show continues on, and you guys had, let's jump to the end of the show, because you guys had put together kind of a cool ending. So kind of walk us through a little bit the last the wrap up the show after Todd Mitchum finishes and the pot cleared the room.
Yes.
Okay, so we got to tell them what happened with Mike Bonacorso, what they did before Todd Mitchum. And for those of you who don't know, Todd Mitchum has been in the DJ industry. He was a presenter, he was a DJ, and then he's moved on to the corporate world training. Then he moved on to dealing with different businesses that are involved with the marijuana production in the Colorado. Cannabis industry, yes. Yeah, cannabis. So he's been doing these things. So, Jeremy, Mike Bonacorso, what happened there?
That was a last-minute scripted thing, so I have no idea what happened there. Apparently, and I think it was all skit, but Mike Bonacorso comes out in a bathrobe, which I don't know if that's ever a safe bet. But he comes out in a bathrobe, and all he remembers is waking up in Todd Mitchum's hotel room or something like that, and a cloud of smoke, and I'm not really sure how that all happened.
Bill Herman goes up and does Mike should be here to and what's going on? That actually happened before Todd, I think, went on. Yeah, Mike, I had a brownie with Todd, and the next thing I know, I'm way. Yeah. And we were almost thinking that
during Todd Mitchum's presentation, we probably don't even need to use the haze machine, so. We figured that would do it. I don't know how much people actually picked up in the lighting production, but again, we talked about the slim beams, and it's these 3 beams of light, and we lit them up green with this 3-leaf effect. And again, I don't know how much people actually picked up on all this, but
there's a method to your madness of your lighting.
There is.
Okay, so Todd finishes up, and then they did kind of a little tribute at the end that you guys had put together, and it was a video that was kind of going through kind of a tribute with Mike Bonacorso. Now, how do you, when it comes to matching up with these videos, what do you do with your light show? Have you been doing things specific to help set those up, or what have you been doing?
Yeah, so I wanted the opening. We'll talk about the opening here real quick. I wanted the opening in advance, because it was going to allow me to use the color tones that were in the video and match the lighting to go along with that. And again, I don't know if a lot of people understand this, but to program an entire show like that, I mean, there's months and months of programming that goes into that, because it's, making sure that this fixture in this group has these certain properties when I make this button happen, or I do this, or I do that. So when I got the opening video, I had to make sure that my oranges, when it says Bill Herman, you'll see on the screens on the intro that it's this nice sunset orange. Well, all of the lighting that happened at that exact moment matched those exact color tones. And so when it came to, everybody, Roz, and then it came to Jimmy, Jimmy's lucky. So it was green.
Green, yep.
We had to really think about how these colors react with the character and how it reacts with the surroundings. So how it reacted with the video. And when it came to the ending, we wanted to create this this grand finale, and Mike Bonacorso, bringing everybody up. Our goal was to, kind of let people soak in what happened that week. And again, Jason Jani and his crew at SCE, their recap videos, I don't know how they do it. But Jeff Scott with SCE, he actually got Todd Mitchum in that video. So he rendered that video in the amount of time that Todd Mitchum did his presentation. So the video happens, and then it's kind of this grand thank you like you would see at Saturday Night Live, where we all came up and it was supposed to be exciting. We were actually going to use confetti launchers, but after Red Foo and having to sweep all that up, Jake's crew said no,
thank you.
Scratch that. But again, it just wanted to be that last grand finale to kind of get people excited about next year as well. So, I hope that people went away inspired from the presenters, from the production aspects. I mean, EV and their sound. If you were not blown away by that sound, then I don't know what conference you were at. They did a phenomenal job. And just an all-around fun event this year. It was exciting.
You mentioned Red Foo. Of course, Red Foo went on stage. Was it Tuesday night? I believe it was Tuesday night.
Yep.
What changes did you make now? Because it was in the same room, and they took out all the chairs and tables, and they came right back in that evening with Red Foo. What did you change for the light show to go from day to the evening event?
I didn't really have to change too much. The only thing that I ran into was as we were doing rehearsals on Tuesday afternoon, they came up to me and said, "Hey, by the way, we can't use haze or fog tonight."
How come?
So, because they didn't schedule the fire inspection for that evening. So, every single concert you go to, if you realize it or not, there's haze in the air. There's that atmosphere in the air. And so that was kind of a little difficult to, again, when you have that expectation with haze, how much haze really brings to the production. But the cool thing was I didn't really have to do a lot of transitioning with the lighting or anything. The cool thing was the fixtures that we used were so vibrant. They're so bright. They're a great product that I didn't technically need to use haze in a lot of that. So there's just the particle in the air and the brightness of some of those fixtures basically created some of those beams and some of the effects that I needed out of those anyways. So again, it all came out. I have to tell you probably my highlight. Can I tell you about my highlight?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I think probably two of the things that my highlights were the one when I did my grand finale for my presentation. We actually reran it on Tuesday or on Wednesday, right before John Taffer came out. And when we ran that light show, and John Taffer comes out and says, I'm going to change the way I open my presentation or my seminar here after watching that light show. And I'm like, oh, great. There you go. He's going to shut me down.
Yeah.
But he comes out and he says, I remember this moment when I was in a bar and we were looking at this light show and we saw this, this magic happen. And, he said, when music and lighting comes together to create emotion and create a moment, he said, I remember a moment that I saw this light show and it brought a tear to my eye. And I look over at the bodyguard, the security guard next to me, and he's got a tear running down his eye. And he said, music and lighting, when it makes you feel like that, and again, just this whole, he changed his whole opening because I think he was impressed by what we put together. But he just, you could tell that he was genuine and he truly connected with DJs and lighting people. And I think that really threw people for a loop because they were expecting, he's going to tell us about bars and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I bet that guy knew more about music than maybe a quarter of the people that were there.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that from quite a few people.
He went really in depth with that. And I thought, to me, that was really impressive. But again, that was a moment that I think I'll always remember when, he changed his opening because he was impressed with the light show that I had put together for that. And again, it made me realize that I really love what I do. And it was a really cool moment for me. Yeah,
that's a neat story. Very, very neat story. The last one that we had a question, could you handle that one?
Yeah. So Jason going on to stage B, we were actually going to put Jason on stage B on Wednesday. And the reason we didn't put him on Wednesday is because Bill actually did his opening for his presentation on stage B. He wanted to kind of present in the round, which if you know Bill, he's theatrical, that's who Bill is. So he wanted to kind of create this opening where it would happen on stage B. But he didn't want to do the whole entire presentation there because he didn't want people in the first row to be going like that the whole
All
time.
the time,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so then he moved up to stage A. Jason was brought onto stage B on Thursday because, again, we just wanted to mix things up a little bit. And, we also wanted to do some scene changes and things like that. But, again, with everything else that we had going on, we had to kind of pick and choose, the moves that we wanted to make. Some of the things that, we had this like flash karaoke thing that was planned for day 2 when John Ross was presenting or when he was hosting. But we had to scratch that just because it was, time constraint and, okay, how is this going to flow? So even as, producing the show, you put all this thought and all this work that goes into it. But you also, as a performer, when we're doing a wedding or a mitzvah or an event in general, we always have to be thinking, okay, do I have to scratch this? Or do we need this? Or do we have to fill time with this? There was a lot of improving that was happening. And again, I don't know if a lot of people saw some of that stuff going on, but we had to kind of fill in gaps. We had to, make sure that we weren't overtaking presenters' times and things like that. So again, when you're entertaining, you always have to be in the moment, and that's something that I've learned from Bill Herman.
Yeah.
You always have to be ready for anything to happen.
For sure.
So we had to scratch some things, and we got to add some things, so it was fun.
Yeah, great stuff, Jeremy. We are out of time. If people want to find out more information about you, they can email. Where can they go to check out some of your videos?
Yeah, so you can go on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it's actually connected on the Disc Jockey News website. There is a section there that will take you to the DJ Jer Shop Time, or obviously you can Google search or YouTube search DJ Jer Shop Time, and it will get you connected with, I think we have about 140 some videos that are out there. I think there's 100 of them live, and I think there's 40 that are kind of in the gates ready to go. So make sure you're checking those out. We're always keeping them fresh.
Jeremy, thank you very much for your time tonight. I'm looking forward to next year already. Thank you much, Jeremy. We're going to pause for just a second. We'll be back with them in just a couple of moments.
Thanks, John.